Hello everybody, I am Oscar from Heel Pictures and this is going to be a 2014 film review, and this is the film called Under the Skin. Now, Under the Skin is written and directed by Jonathan Glazer, who is the writer and director of such films as Birth and Sexy Beast. And he returns after a 10-year absence with the film Under the Skin, which stars Scarlett Johansson as an alien seductress who goes around Scotland, Glasgow, picking up hitchhikers. And that is as much as I'm going to tell you, because this is really a film that's all you need to know. Go into it. If I say any more, I think I'm going to be spoiling things. Now, my expectations going into Under the Skin were decent. I wouldn't say they were uber high, but I was extremely interested because I remember seeing the teaser trailer and thinking that this looked incredibly interesting. Like, this just looked weird, and it looked, as I said, it just looked interesting. Before I say my overall thoughts, I just want to say this. People have been saying that it's between this and Enemy of the films that are really the most complicated films and the ones with the hidden meanings and all that in. Under the Skin, unlike Enemy, is very literal. If you just know the synopsis about an alien seductress comes down on Earth and she goes around Glasgow picking up hitchhikers, you're essentially going to understand the plot. It's just the way that Jonathan Glazer presents Under the Skin. He makes it seem more metaphorical than it is. Don't get me wrong, there are still unanswered questions that I have. I mean, I'm not going to say because that'll be spoilers, but I mean, there are moments which I'm like, why did that happen? Why is this that? What exactly is she doing? It's not a metaphor for something completely different, unlike Enemy. Just to get that out there, it's not. It's more straightforward than you guys think. So just saying that, you're probably going to be asking yourself, well, what did I actually think of it? Well, I actually really liked it. Well, first of all, I just want to say that Scarlett Johansson, this might be her best performance I've seen her give, and it is an extremely subtle performance. It's not over the top, and she barely has any dialogue within the film. All her emotion comes across within her face, and you feel every emotion she has. And considering that she is an alien life form, you truly do see just how she is reacting with Earth, and just through her facial expression and through her eyes, you just see, without her saying like, oh my god, this is weird, she's just looking, and you can just see that she's just very, just amazed, and just she's in awe of like just how we live as a society on Earth. And that really does come across with her without her saying much dialogue at all. And that's not just her, the entirety of the film has very little dialogue. The soundtrack is a very big part within the film, and the soundtrack is very creepy and just haunting, and it's very atmospheric, and the soundtrack is a character in itself within the film. Whenever a track plays in this film, you just feel very I don't know, you just have this very unsettling vibe, and you're kind of drawn in by it though. But another thing is like, sometimes the film has no dialogue within a scene, and it has no soundtrack within a scene, and it's just atmospheric sound effects, just the ambience of, you know, maybe the cars driving down the motorway, or the waves crashing against the rocks, or just birds chirping, or the wind rustling in the trees or something like that. It's just, the sound design in this film is just as haunting in a way as the soundtrack, and it's not distorted in a way, it's just normal sounds. But the way that the film is directed beautifully by Jonathan Glazer, it just makes you feel quite unsettled, kind of like how Scarlett Johansson's character may feel. And speaking of directing by Jonathan Glazer, the cinematography just looks gorgeous. There are some shots in this film which are just outstanding. I mean, the way that captures just the grimy unpleasantness of Glasgow is very it's great how just, well, they capture Glasgow. I mean, I've never been to Glasgow, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen of it, it's not it doesn't feel like the tourist destination for Scotland. And the way Jonathan Glazer directs and the way that the cinematographer frames that, it just, you just feel very grimy and dirty just in there. But at the same time, there are some shots in this film where they, like the castle scene, it looks like some that should be out of a Braveheart or a Lord of the Rings. Just the way that they shoot the castle, it's just so beautiful. And the shots of the forest is great, and the beach scene, as disturbing that may be, it is just shot gorgeously. And as I said, the waves crashing against the rocks and the way the wind takes just the mist and it looks CGI'd, but it probably isn't. And the last shot of the film, just in the snow, oh god, I would love for a cinematograph to be made of that shot. Just, I could just sit and just watch that last shot just forever. It was outstanding. Now I'll go on to the negatives. Now the negatives aren't really necessarily for me as such. They're more negatives, I guess, that a lot of people will find. Like, the pacing of the film can be very long and just dragged out. And there are some shots that do go on for a bit too long, even for me. Like when she's walking down the stairs in the castle. They don't cut away from that. They just show her walking down the stairs, and it does go on for a bit. And there are some scenes where just nothing really much happens, and it's just mainly just shots. And sometimes the shots aren't all that amazing. I did talk about like how great the cinematography was and how good the framing was. That's in certain points. There are some scenes that just aren't all that brilliantly shot, but for some reason they go on for a bit. Another negative is when Scarlett Johansson is trying to pick up guys in Glasgow, they can be a bit repetitive. Like, a lot of the times it is repetitive, and I'm not just on about like the moment where she is going up to random people and saying, you know, like, yeah, some of the people that she tries to pick up are just random people. Of course, the people who did get in her van and all that were actors, but quite a lot of them were just random people in Glasgow, and Scarlett Johansson just drove up and there were hidden cameras, and then that's what they did. I feel like they could have left some of those out. We didn't need every single one of those scenes in there. We could have cut some out, I thought, so that was another little bit of a negative. And a little bit of another negative is that the Scottish accent is extremely hard to understand in this film. And considering some of these aren't actors and they are just people that Scarlett Johansson is just driving up next to, they don't know they're acting, so they're just speaking, they're kind of mumbling a bit. Kind of like how they probably would be talking in real life, and they're not making themselves sound understandable. And a bit of a negative, again, is probably, as I said, the way that the film was presented, making it seem like there's a metaphor and a hidden meaning, where most of it is just straightforward and quite literal. I mean, there probably is some hidden meaning behind it, but I mean, overall it's kind of literal, because I mean, she is an alien seductress coming down, and if you have any doubts about that, there's something at the end scene which kind of does clarify for you, like, no, look, this is very literal in that sense that she's an alien seductress and she is from another planet. But overall, I really liked the film. I thought Scarlett Johansson gave a fantastic performance, and one of the best performances by an actress I've seen in recent years, and it's a very subtle performance. And she does evoke a lot of emotion with just the way that she reacts and just in her face. She is truly a fantastic actress. You may just say, oh, she's just in films just because of how she looks and everything like that. But I truly do think that she is an extremely versatile actress, and this really does prove it. I mean, you look at it in Under the Skin, Don John, The Avengers, different characters, and she's very different people within each of these films. And if someone said to me that they didn't like the film, I could completely understand that. I wouldn't recommend this film to a lot of people just because I can see them getting really bored, and I can understand that. I'm not just going to be like, oh, you don't understand it, you just don't get it. No, this film definitely can be an extremely boring film to some people. It just so happens for me, I just found it very interesting and just intriguing. Because the film very much so feels like a Kubrick film. Like a Shining or a Clockwork Orange. I can't say 2001 because I haven't seen it, but a lot of people have compared this to the last 20 minutes of 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't know, I can't say, but I can probably understand what they mean by that. So I'd say if you don't really like Kubrick films, you probably won't like Under the Skin. I liked Under the Skin. I wouldn't say that I adored it, but it is an extremely intriguing film, and I might give this another rewatch. So guys, thanks for watching my review for Under the Skin. Hope this review persuaded you in some way to watch it or not. The links are down below in the description box for Twitter and Facebook and all that jazz. And until next time guys, shall see you later, and see ya.